Hey everybody, this is Patrick Collins, aka Swayze Reborn, and today on the show, we're going to get started with the story that everybody's been talking about, and that is Simone Biles dropping out of the Olympics. Now, everybody's covering this, from sports pundits to political pundits to every media organization that I've seen on the web, and of course, everybody's talking about it, from Reddit to my bosses, everybody I work with. So it's a very crazy story that's super, super polarizing in almost every way possible. One of the most polarizing things I've seen in a while. And From a response, we're going to read a story that from Simone Biles' response to her critics. I have no idea where I am in the air. Simone Biles has hit back at critics who claim she quit after pulling out of the women's gymnastics team's final on Tuesday after the first rotation. The four-time defending Olympic champion subsequently pulled out of Thursday's all-around final, which was won by her teammate Sanusa Lee, and appears doubtful to take part in the four individual finals for which she has qualified next week. Biles posted a now-deleted video on her Instagram story on Friday of her making a mistake in training for the uneven bars, along with a message in where she sought to further explain the notion of twisting, when a gymnast essentially loses their spatial awareness during a routine. For anyone saying I didn't quit. My body and head are simply not in sync. I don't think you realize how dangerous this is on a hard competition surface. So, this is very interesting to me because there's two ways that you can ultimately take it. Do you consider, at least by the ways of the media, do you consider Biles a weakling, a quitter, or do you consider her a hero, a champion? Now, I'm a little bit of two minds of the situation. I But at the end of the day, I do believe it's her right to basically do whatever she wants to do. So whatever her reason is, if she wanted to drop out, that's her right to do so. But because of it being for mental health reasons, I think this has opened up the conversation a lot to say, oh, this isn't a physical injury, so it's not that big of a deal. I've heard people say, well, what if this was LeBron in the NBA Finals? And he came out and said, I can't compete in the finals anymore because of my mental health. What would we say then? For me personally, I've always struggled with mental health. I have PTSD, anxiety, depression, um, and I struggle a lot. I struggle a lot, and I try to talk about it as much as possible to let people know that the stigma of mental health can't always apply. Just because I'm an extrovert and I smile a lot doesn't mean I'm not depressed. So I do like the fact that Simone Biles has given this awareness to mental health, especially when it comes to our athletes, because we we look at our athletes as such physical specimens that we never I don't think we ever truly think about them as like individuals. We're so lost in the heroism of it all, and the fantasy, trying to live vicariously through somebody, that we forget that these are actual people with actual emotions and actual problems that are a lot bigger than any kind of sports, any kind of medal, any kind of trophy. The Olympics, let's not forget, the Olympics doesn't pay their athletes. And I'm not saying Simone Biles isn't going to suffer from endorsement deals and sponsorships and such, um, but the Olympics itself, the Olympic Games do not pay their athletes. It's a giant scam. It's basically to funnel money into the Olympic Committee. These countries spend millions and millions, sometimes billions of dollars to set up the Olympic villages just for them to be dilapidated and abandoned. Never to really be thought of again. Just an eyesore. And the only people that at the end of the day that are really profiting off of it is the Olympic Committee. So, for whatever reason Biles had, if she just said, I didn't want to play your stupid game anymore. She is quoted to have been saying that the game isn't fun, that gymnastics isn't fun for her anymore. And if it's not fun and you don't have the passion for it anymore, why do it? I know so many people like to see someone who's the greatest at their sport and just a unique specimen of a human being. But they don't owe us that. These athletes do not owe us their blood, sweat, and tears. They don't owe us anything. They don't owe anybody anything. And if she needed to take time off for her mental health, that is her right. Now, another thing that she was saying is that her body and her head are just not in sync, which anybody who has any kind of mental problems, it can feel like that all the time. When my anxiety starts to act up, I feel just like that my body and my head are just not in sync of what I want to do and what my mind's telling me to do. And she explains it in a sports way, but I think it's very interesting that can also double for an analogy on mental health when you're not aware of what's going on. So if she felt that she needed to take time off, and on top of that, if she also felt she might be a burden to her teammates, as we've seen, another one of her teammates won the gold medal. So if she felt she might be a burden to the team and cause them to not look as strongly, there's something to be said about that as well. It's on one hand, it's selfish of her and unselfish of her. These are complex. I'm sure this decision wasn't just made on a whim. These are complex decisions, and she probably weighed it a lot. But at the end of the day, it's her right, and I think it's a great thing that she brought mental health to the forefront so people can speak about it, especially athletes. And I also think that the Olympics are trash and that they shouldn't even have them. So I support Simone Biles on every possible level.